Hey guys, it's me, Kim. So let's dive into what white men get wrong about intersectionality. So I listened to a ton of podcasts. While I was listening to one I really liked, one white man tried to describe intersectionality to another white man, and he got it completely wrong. Here's what he said.
But there's this thing about intersectionality where if the more characteristics you have that make you marginalized, right? So let's say you're black, then let's say you're female, let's say you're lesbian, let's say you're trans, as these increase, that increases your authority in this new system of equality.
Okay.
And so those that intersectionality gets elevated, right? So the person that's going to have the most power in this movement is the person with the most amount of intersectional, marginalized
characteristics. Sure.
Yeah, I'm so nervous at what words I'm choosing. But that, to me, on the very far left, is scary to me.
Right.
I think that's where, to me, it starts getting a little out there and crazy. One of the things that they talk about is understand my story, but you can never understand my story. That's a dangerous place to live.
Right.
We can understand other people's stories, not to the degree that they can, but yes, we can understand other people. That's the power of story.
Okay, so no. First, I have to say that this idea that intersectionality is bringing about some new world order is completely false. Power works the same as it always has, and the same people have it. Look at what's happening in Washington right now. But to review, Kimberly Crenshaw, the woman who originally came up with the idea of intersectionality, has told us again and again that this is not additive. Intersectionality is not about stacking your identities, one on top of the other. It helps us better understand our complex relationship to power. Crenshaw describes it as a way to better understand how experiencing multiple oppressions exposes us to unique vulnerabilities as we navigate the world. Power is dynamic, it's situational. Our access to it depends on where we are located at any moment in time. So what Dax is talking about here is not even really intersectionality. It's the white male paranoia. Now, intersectionality does encourage us to think about how having a certain kind of experience confers a certain type of knowledge. But they still got it wrong. Because no one has the exact same experience, and how we interpret that experience differs from person to person, there's never gonna be like a definitive knowledge or a definitive experience for all of us to come together and strike down the white men. I mean, that would be nice, but that's not really how it works. Knowledge does matter. Experiences do matter. And to get to a more just world, we're gonna have to listen to people who we haven't heard from before. And it seems to me what Dax is talking about is a fear of giving different people the microphone. But we've already heard from the rich, straight white men. Probably too much. Definitely too much. And it's interesting to me that intersectionality is described here as a loss of both power and authority. Think about that. That lens is really troubling, and it indicates why we should spend less time listening to theorists who are white men. Because the will to dominate just slides right on in there. White men like Dax are just too wedded to the idea that they should be centered everywhere. I found it super strange that Dax was so offended by this idea that you can't know every story. That seems obvious. It is a very colonial inclination to want to enter every space and every conversation and recognize it as yours. Everything doesn't need to be universal, and you can't own every story. If you need to have ownership of every experience and every story in order to empathize with it, that's on you. That's your damage. It's pathology. I can feel great empathy for somebody who has lived an experience that I haven't, but I don't know that story. It's not mine. And marginalized folks know that when people presume to know your story without having intimate knowledge of it, they come to some real faulty conclusions. And once they come to those faulty conclusions, they have the institutional power to disseminate those stories like they're real. That has real consequences for us. The people who are really about that life are the ones who suffer. A story will be a story will be a story when all structural bias is eradicated. Until then, take a step back. This disdain for intersectionality is really about a fear of losing the right to control the narrative all the time. It scares people to be told that they don't have the range or they don't know enough. but that's the truth. I'm a Black girl raised in Texas and Oklahoma, and I love stories about white Jewish people from New York. Don't know why, always had a deep affinity for that kind of storytelling. But I don't presume to know what it's like to be a Jewish person from the Bronx. I'm not gonna do the horror at my wedding, because that stuff is not mine. Certainly I could relate to some of the things that I was seeing there because I could draw from my own experiences, but that's not the same. I just need white folks to understand that you can't speak all the time. We get it. We've heard you. And you can't speak and listen. If the world is changing in a way that makes you uncomfortable, you should really sit and think about why that is. Because it's you, not us. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to help us continue this work at For Harriet, become a patron on our Patreon or make a one-time donation. Links for both of those things are going to be below. Be sure to sign up for the For Harriet YouTube channel. There is lots of content there. Grab some merch and join the For Harriet newsletter. Thanks guys. Bye.